What if you can't find the joy anywhere and you're not really even sure where to begin looking? There have been quite a few comments in this theme on my pretirement videos. And I do remember being in that place. Luckily, it's been quite a few years now. I'm on the other side of it. But when I was in that place, nothing really brought me joy. Like, I was really having a hard time finding something that could infuse my life with some joy. And even thinking about it brought me down. So I remember it so well. My name is Amy Palmer. For those of you who are new here, I am your GenX Big Sister. Lately, I've been talking about pretirement, and that's like the 10 to 15 years ish before you retire. And today I'm talking about joy and finding the joy. And I'll share with you what I did. What I did was I revisited younger versions of myself, much younger versions of myself. I went all the way back to childhood, even though I didn't want to. Like, I didn't. How do you, when you're depressed or borderline depressed, it's hard to articulate the fact that even the act of trying to think about joy or trying to become joyful is a struggle, is a challenge. That's really hard to explain to other people who haven't experienced that, but that's where you are. So for me, it was an intellectual decision. I knew I had to figure this out. I knew that I needed to have some joy in my life. And I I decided, I made an intellectual decision that I was going to put some energy into this. I was going to take some action and see what happened. So I started thinking about what brought me joy as a little girl. What are the things that I enjoyed doing, either as a very small child or as an adolescent or a teenager or at any previous point in my life? Where did my joy come from? And I made a list. I made a long list of what all those things were. And some of the stuff that was in there was going camping, music, singing, listening to music, dancing, reading a good book on a rainy day, having sleepovers with my friends, having time with friends. The holidays brought me joy. Time with my family on Christmas brought me joy. Being outside, being on the water brought me joy. I used to love to swim in the ocean and body surf the waves. And then as I got a little older, I enjoyed kayaking and jet skiing. And that's just some of the stuff that was on my list of stuff that used to bring me joy. And they were things that I weren't really doing anymore for lots and lots of different reasons. But I asked myself, what on this list can I do? What can I try? And so, like, I started small with cranking up the music when I was cleaning my apartment and dancing around the house while I listened to it. And I worked to find a playlist that reflected music from times in my life that were joyful. Some of my favorite songs from over the years. I've always been really, really, really affected and motivated and inspired by music and certain songs. So I put a lot of energy into pulling that together. Singing, I loved to sing, and I still love to sing. And I used to do it publicly as a young person, and it's been decades and decades since I've done that publicly. But I actually found some old audio of me performing and singing from decades before, and it kind of like got me going and inspired me. Now, that doesn't mean I like started performing. I didn't. I would sing in the house, I would sing in the car. I just started singing more. Some of my favorite songs, favorite vocal songs, and slowly over time, and a lot of this, I did a lot of it over my sabbatical. Leading up to my sabbatical, I did a little bit. I did a little bit as I could. I would sort of infuse something into my day or into my week, and I wasn't able to do it every day. And I very slowly started to see progress. And then when I took my sabbatical and started to infuse more and more of these joyful activities into my life, it j the momentum of it, like, it really it builds on itself and it becomes bigger and bigger. I got into kayaking again, love kayaking. I got into swimming again. I hadn't been a regular swimmer since I was, I don't know, maybe 13 years old. I got into that again and realized I just enjoyed not only the movement of it, but it was very relaxing. Same thing with the kayaking. It was relaxing, but it was exercise at the same time. And I ended up finding new things that were filling me with happiness, feeding me. Like I really felt like some of these activities nourished me. I almost felt the nutrients coming into my soul when I would do them. And it sparked new interests. Like I now when I now have a newfound love of small towns and exploring small towns. I love exploring little flea markets, even though I'm not that big of a shopper because I'm nomadic, so I keep my possessions small. But when I go to new places, I love to explore. I love to explore the local arts scene, whatever that might be, local museums. I never used to get into museums, and a new appreciation for nature. I knew in my head that if I got outside and I got some vitamin D on my face and got some air, fresh air that I was breathing in, I knew intellectually that that would be healthy for me and that would feed me nutritiously, and that my soul would feel it and respond to it. I knew that. So I made the decision to do it, even when I wasn't feeling it, even on the days like when I was just feeling down and I just wanted to hibernate in the house and do nothing, and nothing seemed like there was nothing really exciting ahead. So it's making a decision to do it before you're really ready to. Now, I also have to say that I also indulged in some joys that were not necessarily they were not necessarily the best. So, for example, food and eating. Unfortunately, food is a joy for me. There are certain foods that I love, and I love trying new places, and I love comfort foods, and I love, there's just certain things that I get a lot of joy out of eating, even though I shouldn't eat as much of it, or I should be incorporating more healthy stuff into it. But during these early times, I had to allow myself some of those not quite as healthy joys in order to just keep my engines revved and to keep moving forward on making those decisions. Going to the movies. I love going to the movies. I love going to the movies alone. I know I'm weird, but I love it. And so in those early days, if I didn't necessarily have the oomph to do a more ambitious, joyful activity, I would go to a matinee and enjoy that matinee and give myself permission to enjoy that matinee. So I think what I'm trying to share with you is if you want to have more joy in your life, but you just don't know what that is or what that means, start with a decision. Start with a decision that you're willing to do something about that. Even if your heart and your gut is saying, yeah, but what? I'm not in the mood. Make the decision anyway. And then make a list, an exhaustive list of what used to bring you joy. And then pick something and make a decision to do it and to try it. That's another one. Babies and children. When I was younger, I loved being around babies and little kids. I just love them. I love interacting with them. I love hugging them. I love playing with them. And because when I was going through the tough times, the years leading up to those, the lowest of the lows, I had mixed feelings about kids and babies because I was so deep in the grief of not having my own. I didn't necessarily pay attention to that. But when I started to decide that I wanted to infuse more joy into my life, I made a conscious decision that I was going to spend some time with kids. I was going to spend some time with babies. I became a big sister in the Big Sister program. I reached out to my godson who has multiple little babies and have made numerous trips to go visit them so I could get that little kid new to life energy and perspective. So my wish for you is to dig deep, look back when you were really little, what brought you joy. That's where like my singing came in into adolescence, young adulthood. What are the things that brought you joy back then? Get them all down, write them all down, pick one. We're going to talk about this in more detail in my workshop on Saturday. We're going to really explore it together. And as a community, we're going to support each other with it. That is the Permission to Pause workshop. Permission to Pause, how to design your pre-retirement. I will put the link to it in this description, but it's Permission to Pause, permission, the number 2 pause today. I hope to see you there. My name is Amy Palmer. Please like and subscribe to this channel. I am your Gen X Big Sister signing out.